podcast or maybe on stage or someplace like that, they know about my father and his battle with opioids and whatever it may be. And they may get the idea that we didn't have the best relationships, which isn't necessarily the case. It was just the relationship couldn't be what I wanted it to be because there were so many things that were in the way, right? Mm-hmm. Things that I couldn't control, battling addiction, being poor, things that as a child and even as an adolescent and young man, I couldn't help my dad through. We put a lot of pressure on ourselves to do that, right? But you know this better than anybody until you make that decision that you want to change your life and you wake up, incubated or in a coma after a coma, and you realize a decision that you made that could significantly alter the course of your life. These things, there's so much outside of our control. And so my father, I used to throw a lot of energy into wanting to change him and wanting to change his mindset and helping him. And I couldn't. And you can't either. Like anybody listening to this, you cannot fundamentally change other individuals. You can create moments of self-discovery. You can ask them the right questions to get them to identify that maybe change is for the better. But at the end of the day, we have to make the decision to change. And a gentleman by the name of Kyle Haven that I introduced you to recently at the gym was actually on the Fundamism podcast talking about his battle with alcoholism. And he said, dude, they tried so many times. They had interventions. My wife said she was going to leave me. She did leave me twice. He was like, nobody could get me to make a decision to quit alcohol but me. Mm-hmm. So I'm giving you a very long answer to your question about my journey. Whether it was me trying to get an organization to understand my value, or me trying to get my father to understand my value and get him to understand his value in himself, or me trying to justify why I am on this planet, my journey is just riddled with all these self-discovery questions where I had to realize, man, the answer is in my heart and it's in the back of my head. Like, not in my head, but rather living life to the fullest and creating moments of joy, not just for myself, but in the lives of others. And so here we are years later with a better understanding of what Fundamism is and potentially a brand that could help individuals get out of their head and create more joy, fun, and fulfillment in their lives. Man. Did I answer a question? I don't know, man.
Yeah, I would say so. It's a beautiful thing to hear kind of the backside of the genesis of Fundamism as an emerging philosophy, shall we say? And I love it because I think today, especially this year, holy cow, it's been a very tumultuous year, a lot of kind of heavy. And so it kind of brings us back to.
What are you referencing?
Oh, he's even got a sound deck.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good. You're good. It's it's choosing our reality, right? Choosing our perspective. And probably within the next few days, I was going to post one of my little savagery quotes, as I always do, and say, step one of healing is to transcend the victim mentality, which we discussed a little bit as far as kind of like you're choosing to drown in 2 feet of water. Yeah. I love how you said, victim or victor, right? Like that combination of words, I just obviously love. It's so perfect. And it's kind of like one of my other good friends, Brandy, she always said, break down or break through. It's your choice. And I'm just like, oh, that's so good, right? And same thing with this of, victim or victor. It's your choice. Oh, in fine print.
Chapter 1. The reason why it resonates, dude, is because you and I, we're basically the same dude. I mean, the reason why I'm showing you this, Brendan, and for those of you listening, chapter 1 of the Fundamism book. Chapter 1 is arriving at fun's front door. And the second paragraph is literally titled Victim or Victor and the Choice. And you just mentioned, like, we don't believe it because, again, we feed our own narrative.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, you see so much shit and you wallow in it and you don't believe that there is anything else out there great. And so you say, dude, it's easy for you to say, Brendan, that I have a choice, but you don't understand. You've never lived my life. You've never seen what I've seen. And what I found, dude, is there are so many people on this planet, and Americans specifically. I don't know why the hell we think that we got it so freaking bad. There's so many individuals on this planet that have it far worse than anybody listening to this podcast right now can ever begin to understand or feel. And they're handling it so much better. It's a choice, man. I mean, there's definitively some DNA stuff, and this is where you're an expert and I'm not. And I do. I want to try to figure out a way to create a documentary or something physical that somebody could see. Where I don't know if it's going to expose my truth or not, or expose other people's truths. But I do believe that the more that we expose ourselves to awesomeness and positivity and the right people and uh, being grateful in our day, I think despite what many of you may feel, I think that we can potentially move ourselves forward. Could we solve for mental health altogether? I don't know, man. Like, there's obviously some DNA things that go into that, but could you make your day a little bit better? Could you be more of a victor than a victim? I am convinced that the answer is yes.
Hmm. Hmm. Well, and I think part of it too, is embracing the full spectrum, the full frequency of the human experience. How could you possibly appreciate a sunrise without sitting through a thunderstorm or two, right? So it's a beautiful journey, and to feel the heart wrenching lows and the euphoric highs. It's everything in between, and that's what makes life so amazing. And I will just say, which I think a lot of my listeners are probably pretty solid on. But as I was saying on your show, I always like to kind of draw that line right down the middle when we're talking about mental health, because it can get very disorienting and confusing of where to be